Alright, I want to make a quick video about installing reverse backup lights on a first generation Ford Focus. So mine is a 2006, and so this should be the same for anything in that same generation. I mean, as you can see, I've already done that one there. I have not wired them in yet. I'll make a separate video later about how to wire them, but let me show you the lights. Alright, so this is the light that I'm using. These are Nilight 6 bulb light pods. I believe these are spotlight pods. I got these in a kit that came with 4 of these and one, I believe, 18-inch. And I used 2 of them and the large one in the front a couple of months ago. I've just had these sitting around and I finally got around to installing them. So the first thing that you actually want to do is inside here where the bolt sits, there is 2 raised nubs that keep the bolt from spinning. So the first thing we're going to do is take these 4 bolts out, take that bolt out, and then using a hammer and a punch, we're going to flatten those as best as we can because that bolt needs to be able to spin for what we're doing. Okay, I've got this disassembled. As you can see, there's 4 bolts. Each one is going to have a lock washer, and a standard washer. These are 10mm. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the bracket, and using a hammer and a punch, we're just going to smash these down. This will take a few hits. Be patient. Go slow. If you have a good metal file, you can file them down, or a good grinder. You can just grind them off. I don't have any of those with me right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just do it this way. Okay, now as you can see, those are flattened. There's not much rise to them at all. And now this bolt, which is a 14mm bolt, a 9/16 will work on it too, but 14mm is best. That can spin freely in between those. Okay, we're now back under the car. I am right in front of the rear wheels. So there's the rear wheel, and this is where we're going to be working. Now, when I originally started this, I was going to just bolt through this hole, which was a little bit tricky because you have to put your ratchet in from over here and get it over. And it worked, but I couldn't get the light to point in a good direction. And this emergency brake cable was always kind of in the way. And so I disconnected it right here and discovered miraculously that this bolt is the exact same thread pitch and size as the bolts that come on these Nilight light pods. So the next thing you're going to want to do is take your 10mm and unscrew this, which will release this retaining clip, and then we are just going to slide the retaining clip up the cable and let it dangle. Okay. See if I can get this camera adjusted halfway decent. Now that that bolt is out, this retaining clip will just come right out. And we are not going to need it because we're actually going to use the light to keep this cable in place. It's pretty stiff, it doesn't really go anywhere. But we're going to use the light to just make sure it doesn't fall on the ground or drag or snag on anything. But for now, you want to pull it down. There is a clip up in here behind this shield, and it's probably going to pop out of that clip. Yep, there it is. It'll make some noise, it'll be a little scary, but you're not breaking anything, hopefully. Okay, so now this hole right here is the one that we need. Those are the threads that are gonna match. So we need to take this bracket that we took off the light and drop the bolt so that you have to grab it again. And you want to orient this so that the long curved part is towards the front of the car. So now we're going to go ahead and take this bolt, stick it into that existing threaded hole. This is probably the easiest light bar install ever. Probably want some WD-40. This one's a little bit crusty inside. Got some dirt going on in there, so I'm going to go find some WD-40, clean out this hole, and then we'll go ahead and continue. Okay, so because I just moved to a new house, I don't have any WD-40. Ran out just before I moved. Haven't bought any, so I'm just going to take this pipe cleaner on a... This is a handy little tool. Can't tell you where to buy one because I don't know where I got it. Make sure that's nice and clean, get all the threads. And then I'm just going to dip it in a little bit of motor oil that I had lying around. We're going to just lube up those threads a touch. And that is the right way to do the wrong thing. Okay, back to what we were doing. Get that started. Again, make sure that the long sloped edge is towards the front of the car. And this isn't the final position, we'll kind of fine tune it in a minute, but just get it close for now. Okay, now we're gonna cheat here a little bit. I'm gonna get the DeWalt in there. Alright, just get that snug, because we're going to need to be able to rotate it to get the right angle for the light. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and grab the light and get it installed and show you how to do that. Alright, we got the light, and one thing you'll notice about these lights is they are very highly adjustable. So before we install, we're actually going to take the Allen key. I believe that comes with the kit. I don't remember for sure. It's been almost a year since I bought these, so I don't remember for sure if it comes with it or not. And lefty-loosey, I couldn't tell for sure which way I was going. And then we're going to slide this so that the light pod is facing to the back of the car and the bracket is as far inboard as possible. So on the other side, it's going to look like this. And on this, which is the driver's side, it's going to look like this. And we'll go ahead and snug that up. Now you want to leave a little bit of room between the rail. Give it about 1/8 of an inch. That's going to allow the rail to sit in there snugly and not interfere with the case on the light. Get that nice and snug. And then this is just going to pop right in once you get the brake cable out of the way. That's going to pop right into that track. And then we're going to be able to adjust it. Now what I like to do is take some alligator clips and hook them up to a battery charger and just test this. But I've already done it on the other side, so I'm going to skip that. You can just go ahead and light it up with this so you can orient it the way you want. But what we're actually going to do is, in order to get the most adjustability possible, we're only going to put bolts in the back. So there's 4 bolt holes, we're only going to use 2 of them, because if we use all 4 we can't get it pointed in the right direction. Okay, now you can see that I've got 2 bolts in, one on each side. Off camera, the only other thing that I did was I went ahead and I tightened down that 14 millimeter before I put this light on. Because if you wait, it is very complicated unless you have a really narrow 14 millimeter wrench to get up in there and tighten it. So I apologize for omitting that, but I did tighten that down. It still will allow me to swivel this a little bit to fine tune, and I have not tightened up these 10 millimeter bolts yet for the same purpose. I want to be able to show you how to get it pointed in the right direction. So you do want them snug. In fact, right now it's probably a little bit too loose, but I've gone ahead and hooked up my alligator clips to my jump box. And we're gonna go ahead and turn it on. And it's gonna make that awful sound as long as it's connected. So now what we wanna do is tilt this up and down. And this is almost better to do at night, so you can get it kind of generally set, but then you're only gonna come back at night when it's dark enough to see. So I want these about 5 feet behind the wheels. So something about like right there is where I want. You don't want it too far up or else you're just gonna light up the undercarriage. You don't want it too far down or it's not gonna do you any good at night. So that's about where I want to set it. I'm gonna go ahead and snug those nuts, those bolts. I'm not going to tighten them, or I'll snug them, and then I'm gonna come back tonight and make sure that they are fine-tuned. Okay, the very last thing that we're going to do before we finish is get the handbrake cable secured and get the loose wire secured. So like I said, I'm not going to wire these up right now. I still have one more light that I'm planning to put into the circuit. It is a different brand and a different model, and it's going to require a little bit of fabrication and some more work. I think these two alone would be plenty, but I have one more, so I'm going to do one more. And so what we need to do now is just take this cable, and we're going to have to stretch it a little bit. And it's not going to sound pretty, but it's not breaking anything. It's just sliding on the exhaust baffle. And get it up here. And then you want to get up in here, make sure that it's clipped back into that clip. This should be fine wherever, just let it dangle. You could even cut it off if you wanted to, but that light is going to hold it for us. And then you're going to need to take this, and I'm just going to zip tie it up here where it's going to be out of the way. If you're going to wire these up immediately, you may not have to do that, although that may be a good place to wire it permanently. But for now, I'm just going to zip tie these here to keep them out of the way and call it good. I will make another video about how to mount the last light bar that I'm going to do. Let me show you that one. Here's my last bar. It's just a little like 6-inch combination of flood and spot. It is a no-name Chinese thing. I got it when I bought a vehicle a while back. So what I'm going to do is build a steel bracket that'll go around the outside and bolt to the sides of that. And then it is going to bolt underneath here somewhere. I haven't decided entirely where. It may go right here on the cross support, although that seems like it'd be a little bit low clearance. So it may go on that next one back. Or it may come up here underneath the spare tire somewhere, right here in the center. But haven't completely decided. One thing you want to do is make sure that these are going to clear everything. You don't want to knock them on rocks or whatever. I'm going to test before I upload this and make sure that they don't get bound up on any rocks or anything, because I drive off-road a lot. Yeah, those are in a good place. They're designed to be aimed crosswise. So the one on the passenger side is going to illuminate the driver's side and vice versa. Originally I was going to mount them right here, on the bottom of the tire well, but the tire well is actually not centered. There's not a great place to put them, and you could see them from behind. I really believe that light bars should be hidden as much as humanly possible. And let me just talk about these specific light bars for a minute. These are, I couldn't tell you the lumens off the top of my head. But, like I said, I got 4 of these light pods, 6-unit light pods, as well as an 18-inch, I believe, maybe it's a 16-inch. I'm pretty sure it's an 18-incher. And they are very bright, they're very good, and they're very cheap. I got them for $65 on Amazon about a year ago. And then I just built some custom brackets to mount them up, which you can't see because they're in front of the radiator and this dust cover is in the way. But I built some custom brackets out of this 1-inch angled aluminum and mounted those up. Originally I had this one in the front of the car, but it just wasn't bright enough for what I needed. So I went ahead and replaced it with the 2 pods in the bar. I'm going to go ahead and close this video up, and I will come back tonight and give you a brightness review. Notice my door handle's missing. I broke my door handle yesterday. So I'm in the process of fixing that too. Okay, here's the follow-up. It is now dark. I have a super terrible phone camera, so you're probably not going to be able to see much. I've got the jumper hooked up to the passenger side light, which again will illuminate the driver's side. And we're going to go ahead and flip it on. You can see that it gives quite a bit of light. I'm quite impressed. That might be dead on. So what we need to do is climb into the car. And I want to be able to be comfortable with where it's at from the mirrors. So gotta open my car from the wrong side because I broke my door handle. Yeah, that's looking really good. Now you want to look out your mirror and see where the light is going. So that is actually a little bit too far forward for me. It's not going to do me much good. So I'm going to point it backward just a little bit farther. I want it to be able to be in my mirror at eye level. That's eye level. This is leaning forward. So let's go adjust it. Okay, so we're going to get under here. Here's the light. And all we need to do is give it a little bit of a turn, which is pretty stiff. It's snug, so you don't want it moving around while you're driving. So about like that. And then I may need to point it upward a little bit more, but that'll take a wrench. I don't have a wrench in my hand at the moment. So let's go check that out from the driver's side of the mirror. And then if we need to, we can turn it up a little bit. Okay, here's eye level, so we're still a little bit low, but not terribly. So I think the light needs to tilt upward just a little bit more. Okay, I want to get this part on camera. If anybody knows how to silence one of those DeWalt jump boxes, please let me know. It's driving me nuts. Again, we can adjust this side to side by hand, but I found that instead of loosening the nut, you can actually just tilt the whole thing with your wrench on that bolt. I mean, not nut. So I want to go there and down. Well, let's go up just a touch. Now you can see we're starting to kind of illuminate the underside of the fuel tank. But that may be dialed. Let's go check that out one more time. My wrench is stuck. Okay, so now you can see that that's pointed a little bit farther outboard. Not quite as far back as I'd like it, but I was running into the issue of just illuminating the gas tank. So, not a perfect place to mount them, but super convenient. That's going to give me the ability to just drop my mirrors a little bit if I need to, if it's dark and I'm worried about running something over. So, and obviously that'll be both sides, but with the only having one at a time wired up right now, it is just the one side.